if I was in the Hunger Games universe, I'd be like, obviously donating to the Hunger Games is bad because you're complicit in the Hunger Games. But like, how is my girl Maisie going to do her bangs in the Hunger Games if I don't send her a blow dryer? Let me do it. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly, and today we are talking about the new Hunger Games book and movie, Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm basically going to be just like walking you through the entire plot if you didn't want to read it. I think you should read it if you want to. I read it a couple months ago, and it got me fully back into my Hunger Games phase entirely. Like, I ended up rereading Catching Fire and loving it because of that. So if you want to read it, you should, but I kind of realized, like, I've been going to the beach a lot this summer. I've been really wanting to take advantage of like the summer. And when I've been going to like the beach or the park, I have just seen so many people my age reading this book. And I've been talking to like friends or friends of friends who like aren't really readers. And they're kind of like, I want to read this book to find out what happens because I'm in on the lore, because, you know, like, I was like 12 when like the first Hunger Games movie came out, maybe 11. So like this is culture to me. And I wanted to make a video basically, if you're one of those people that wants to read it to figure out what's happening, to spoil yourself for the movie, but you aren't a reader, you don't want to read it. So that's what's gonna happen. I'm basically just recapping Sunrise on the Reaping, the new Hunger Games book. It is Haymitch's book. So that's also something to talk about. It's basically about Haymitch, which if you don't know, the Hunger Games world, basically because in a far off kind of like futuristic, but like not really anymore, world, the districts tried to overthrow and went at war with the capital, which is like the very, very wealthy city that rules over these much more impoverished and oppressed districts. And because the districts lost, as kind of punishment, every single year, each district, there are 12 districts for now, each year a district has to send 2 children, 1 boy, 1 girl, to the Hunger Games. It's a child death match. They basically go in and whoever lives the longest wins. Great. So, you know, the original trilogy follows Katniss Everdeen. She goes to the Hunger Games. Spoiler alert, sorry, I feel like the book came out in 2008. So if you don't know that, where the hell have you been, baby girl? Where have you been? So it stars Katniss Everdeen, and she has a mentor when she's going into the games. And a mentor is somebody traditionally from your district who is a past victor who won the Hunger Games, giving you tips. Hers is Haymitch Abernathy. He is the sole living victor from District 12. He self-medicates with alcohol and is not in a good headspace. Now, this is kind of an origin story about that. And it's real fan service, but in an interesting way where I think this book is quite good. I feel like fan service is very rarely actually good and like gives us more information about the canon and isn't just kind of like, I'm writing this book or making this movie or whatever because the fans want it, but like I have something to say. And I think Suzanne Collins really did that. So I'm excited to talk about it. Any housekeeping? Yes, just general promo. You can skip ahead if you don't want me to promote stuff. Fair enough. I have a podcast called Girl Historians. It is a comedy podcast where we talk about history. We're in the midst of a series talking all about the Kennedys, and it is so much fun. We just recently did an episode talking about the timeline of the JFK assassination, and it's very interesting. So that's linked in the description if you want. If you want more of me, I have been posting a lot more sparsely this year because I am writing a book and it's been taking up most of my mental energy. So I'm basically posting 1 video a month, but I'm also posting an additional video on my Patreon, which is linked below. So if you're missing me, I can't imagine you are. I'm a lot, but if you are, you can go subscribe to my Patreon. I also have merch. So if you are in the mood for that, you can have it. We have merch that's for my channel and also for my podcast. The merch for my channel is based off of like the vests that they put on reactive dogs that like bite people. So my favorite one, it just says, please ignore me, I am afraid. And we also have merchandise for my podcast, and that is all kind of like historical tourism merch. So we have one that's like rocking out with King Henry VIII and his wives. King Henry VI. Oh my God, I should know this. I feel genuinely brain dead right now. It is 8th. He is the 8th King Henry, and he has 6 wives. If you've listened to the podcast, you know there's no greater fight in all of humanity than me and numbers. I don't register them at all. It's awesome. So we have merchandise for that. We have a greetings from the Titanic design, and we also have a hat that says somebody went to the Salem witch trials and all I got was this stinking cap, which I love too. All of the merch is ethically made. It's made with 100% cotton, and it is shipped in recyclable like shipping materials. So if you want that, then you can have that. That's the housekeeping. I'm sorry. I am a CEO, unfortunately. So I have to do that stuff. And the videos that I make are generally so long that by the end, I forget to promote anything, which is fine. The best way to literally do anything for me is just to watch my videos. So you're good there. But I'm like, if I'm doing these side quests, I should let people know that I am doing the side quests, right? Anyways, that's that. Oh, you okay? Is this on? Huh. Okay, well, while I have you here, I thought I might just talk about, you know, today's sponsor, Milanote. Listen, we're gonna get into it. Sunrise on the Reaping is such a well-written and intentional book, and something that I've been learning over the past couple of years as I've been on my own writing journey is that keeping organized while writing can be really, really hard. But with this video's sponsor, Milanote, it can be a little bit easier. Milanote is an online organizational tool for creatives, and it is perfect if you are a visual thinker like me. They have over 100 different templates to choose from for every type of creative project. The board that I'm showing right now is my writing board that I've been using to write my novel. I've changed a couple of things just because I can't share with you full, just like in-depth details. I use the template for like a novel and use their character boards and their outlines and stuff like that. But they have stuff for filmmakers, for interior designers, for graphic designers, or if you're just like a student or person who wants to organize their life, they have a template that you can use. I love using Milanote's web clipper extension. It helps you save inspiration directly into your board. I love using this for mood boarding. And with Milanote, you can collect notes, tasks, like a to-do list here, videos, which I've used here to link one of my favorite just kind of chill writing playlists, images, and more. One of my favorite things to link is Spotify playlists that I've made for my characters and just for the mood and vibe of the book itself. So if I need to kind of get into their headspace, I can. Milanote also lets you share your work with collaborators and you can work together in real time. You can just invite people to your board and then you can literally work on it at the same time. You can also use the Milanote mobile app. So if you're out and about, not by your laptop, but you're kind of struck with inspiration or have an idea you want to add to your board, you can do that from your phone. So if you want to use Milanote to help you organize your creative projects, go to the link in my description below. It is literally free, so there's no reason not to. I love you, Milanote. I think it's a great tool. Thank you so much to Milanote for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about Sunrise on the Reaping. Woo. So Sunrise on the Reaping starts out on Reaping Day. Reaping Day is the day where the Capitol says, hey guys, can you give us like 2 of your kids to murder? But we're not murdering them, so it's fine. They're just murdering each other and we're forcing them to. It's the day in which everybody in town lines up like a raffle, but the prize is certain death. They draw names from the big old fishbowl in the movie like this. Boom. Says who's going. I feel like I've forgotten to talk. It's like I'm normal and then I put the video camera on and any semblance of like sentence structure leaves my beautiful little dried up brain. I don't know what's going on, but you get me. You understand me. We understand each other, right? So it's the day when they're crowning the prom king and queen of District 12, but instead of getting little plastic crowns and peaking in high school, the gift is they get to take a vacation to the Capitol and then be murdered by other children. Reaping Day just so happens to also fall on Hamish Abernathy's birthday. He's turning 16, sweet 16. Hold on to 16 as long as you can. For Hamish specifically, because spoiler alert, what we know from the original series is he does go to the Hunger Games. Yup. So it's Hamish's 16th birthday, which is also Reaping Day, which sucks. And Hamish is very teenage boy in this. The voice is there. The literary voice, he's just like saying things suck and he doesn't like doing work and he just wants to hang out with his girlfriend, Lenore Dove. Hamish wakes up on his birthday. It's his 16th birthday. It's also the Hunger Games Reaping Day and it's July 4th. A little bit of a hat on a hat there, right? Like the Reaping Day, because it's about like American fascism and like all that stuff, is also on July 4th. The Day of America. It's also the second quarter quell. So quarter quells are every 25 years in the Hunger Game. They get like a fun little theme. This theme, the 50th year, is that they're basically doubling the tribute. So there are 2 boys and 2 girls from each district. Haymitch lives with his mother, who he calls Ma, and his 10-year-old brother, Sid. He supports them doing odd jobs like fixing things, helping out around the community, and also helping out a bootlegger named Hattie as well. That comes back into play later. They're fairly poor, and they live in the Seam, which is the poorer part of District 12 where they live. This is not important to the plot, but I do think it's funny. I think it's a fun little just kind of sprinkle in there into the, it paints a picture, and I have to give Suzanne Collins her flowers because I think she is genuinely one of the best to ever do it in terms of like writing YA books. I think she's fantastic. Because they're poor, Haymitch's mother makes their clothes, and she'll make it just based on like whatever fabric she can get. And she uses the fabric of like the flour and grain bags that they get from the Capitol. So Haymitch has a pair of shorts that just say property of the Capitol on the ass. And I think that's just funny. I just think it's funny. Is it symbolism? Yes, probably, but it's also funny, and two things can be true at once. So Haymitch goes off to help Hattie do some bootlegging before the reaping. Yup. And as he's going, his mom is like, hey, can you just quickly do some chores? Can you quickly refill our water? Because they don't have running water. And can you just go take our big old pail and fill it up at the well? And Haymitch is like, I'll do that later. Put a pin in that. That's me putting a pin in that. So Haymitch goes and helps out Hattie. He gets some money, and he gets cut early in the day. I'm using like service lingo, like he's a waitress, like he's at, I don't even know like an Applebee's serving, but he gets cut early because Hattie's like, it's your birthday, go have some fun, yeah. And then he goes into town. Haymitch does not with the people in town. He does not like them because they're rich. And, fair enough. First, he goes to the apothecary and tries to basically trade some just like clear alcohol. The person who's working at the apothecary is Astrid, who is Katniss's mom, but not yet because she's also a 16-year-old. He says that he likes her fine enough. He trades her and gives her the alcohol for some money. Then he goes to the sweet shop, SHOPPE, ye old sweet shop next door, and buys gumdrops for his girlfriend. Okay? Now, Haymitch loves his girlfriend, and his internal monologue lets us know, oh boy, does he love his girlfriend, Lenore Dove. Lenore. I loved saying things for the first time out loud on camera. It's really professional of me. So Haymitch's girlfriend is named Lenore Dove. She is a member of the Covey. The Covey is kind of a group of people that we get more context in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is another one of the prequels that Suzanne Collins has written. I go into them a bit more in my like really in-depth Hunger Games video if you're interested, but basically they're like a traveling group of nomadic people that were then forced to settle down when the Capitol came into power, and they are very, very musical, and their names have a color in it. So it's Lucy Gray, and is one of the main characters in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Lenore Dove. They're very much like Dove, not like the bird. Dove like the color. And you're like, baby girl, the color is based on the bird. Like, not to split hairs, but you can't be like, if somebody's like, oh, are you named after a bird? You can't be like, no, I'm based off of a color. And you're like, right, but the color is surely in reference to the bird that is also gray. It's also very funny that like the whole kind of thing of the Covey is that they're like colorful and they're named after colors, when it's like the ones that I can think of are Lucy Gray, so gray, the color gray, Lenore Dove, the white gray color of dove, Billy Taupe brown, and Maud Ivory like white. Now these all sound very good, but it's very funny to be like, we're a colorful people. All of our names are different shades of beige. Anyways, all that's to say is Lenore Dove is a part of this kind of nomadic people that have been forced to settle in District 12. They're very, very musical as well, is the other thing about the Covey. Lenore Dove specifically does not sing in public, even though she has a beautiful voice, but she does play piano. She plays piano for like the mayor's parties or whatever for money, and she also teaches piano lessons to make money, and she plays a tune box, which is an accordion. I'm picking up from context clues. It is an accordion, but she calls it a tune box, but we know that it's an accordion. Another kind of thing about Lenore Dove is that she has a flock of geese, and she loves her geese. I'm in on this. I'm so excited. Lenore Dove is being played by an actress who was in the Gossip Girl reboot, who I think is genuinely a fantastic actress, and I'm happy that she's like getting another chance at a big franchise because I think that she's genuinely fantastic, and I'm really, really excited to see her really take on, because the thing that you'll kind of notice as we go through this is that like Lenore Dove, despite being a main character, is not really in the book a lot. The book is told from Haymitch's perspective, so she gets flattened in a very strange way because he's so in love with her and places her on such a pedestal that you don't really get to see the the layers of her personality, at least specifically in the text. You can read it in the subtext a bit, and we get to that as we go along. But he very much idealizes her, and she's perfect and almost like a manic pixie dream girl in a way, because she gets kind of reduced to these traits. She's musical, she's really mysterious, she has a flock of geese, and she loves candy. So there's kind of that going on, right? I will also say, again, not to have beef with truly a 16-year-old child from a fake book, but you cannot be pissed at people, Lenore Dove, when they think your name is in reference to a bird when one of your main fucking traits is that you take care of fucking birds, bitch. I'm sorry, you need to let this go. I need to let this go. I don't know why this pisses me off so much, but it does. Another thing that is of note of the covey is they each have name songs, which is basically like a song that's about their name. Lucy Gray has like I believe it's an original song. It's like an original song, but it's based off of like a girl who disappears. Whoa. Lenore Dove's song is based off of the poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I am so excited to see what they do with this in the movie, because the poem, obviously it's one of the most famous poems of all time. It absolutely rips. It's awesome. It's basically about a man who is so distraught by the loss of his love, Lenore, that he basically can, like, he's like, the raven is here and the raven is saying her name. Like, he sees her name and he's so caught up on her. Both of these have symbolism. We'll get back to that. So here's some other traits about Lenore Dove. It seems like I'm listing them, but that is kind of how they are presented. And I think that is a conscious choice, because she is so idealized in Haymitch's brain. She often sews little like ribbons and pieces of color into like the cuff of her clothing, like hidden pieces of color. Haymitch doesn't know what these are. And again, this is kind of like a secret thing. She's a very secretive person with a very like an internal life that we don't really get much access to, and gets revealed to us a bit as the book goes on. But it ends up basically being insinuated that this is in tribute. This is a tribute to Lucy Gray, who is the main character from The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and won the Hunger Games, because they're both covey, and Lucy Gray was very, very colorful. And actually, even though her name was Gray, she wore lots of colors. So these kind of like splashes of color are like a secret kind of hidden resistance in tribute to Lucy Gray. The other thing you need to know about Lenore Dove is she is very like radical for the time. Like, and by radical, I mean like she's like, children shouldn't be murdered, which, you know, you wouldn't think is a crazy take, but even in today's day, like in modern day, it's like a huge, insane take. And it's a crazy take in the Hunger Games universe too, which is really fun, because that kind of insinuates to me that we are just like living in the Hunger Games universe, which rocks. That's really good. Actually, it's really, really good. So yeah, everyone's like, shh, Lenore Dove, don't say these crazy things. And she's like, Hunger Games bad? And that's not to say that everyone else in the universe obviously also thinks it's bad, but they're kind of stuck in this idea that it's inevitable. Whereas Lenore Dove is like, they're not inevitable. And if people fight and care about fighting and changing this, things can change. So she's a bit of a radical. So he meets Lenore Dove in her little field with her geese, which I love. To have a field full of geese. My dream date. Cute. I just want to have a field full of geese, but I live in a city, so that can't happen, and that's a tragedy. He meets her, he gives her these little gumdrops. She loves gumdrops because one of her traits is, yep, she loves candy. And they talk about the reaping. She is basically saying again to Haymitch, it's not inevitable. And then for his birthday, she gives him a flint striker. A flint striker, for the people who are not very woodsy like me, basically you hit it against, like, you need copper and a fuse, and you can use it to light a fire. He can wear it as a necklace because on one side it's a snake and on the other side it's a bird, right? So then they go to the reaping. Another thing that's just a fun kind of wrinkle in this moment is that Lenore Dove is a cousin maybe of Lucy Gray Baird. Like, she's not, she's basically being adopted by the covey. So I don't know if it's by blood or not, but her uncle is called Clark Carmine. He is the fiddler. Crazy. He plays the fiddle. He's not like a pest. Like, he's not a fiddler, but he fiddles. Does that make sense? He's the fiddler in Mockingjay when Finnick and Annie are having a wedding, and Katniss is like, the person playing the fiddle fucking hates Haymitch, and just glares at him the whole time. That's Clark Carmine. He hates Haymitch because Lenore Dove dies. Like, I know that's a spoiler, but like in the original trilogy, like Lenore Dove is like simply nowhere to be seen. So you just go into the book being like, I know she dies, right? So he's pissed because Lenore Dove is dead and Haymitch was her boyfriend. So that's just kind of like a fun full circle moment. I love when Suzanne Collins pulls in kind of little weird tidbits and lore from the original trilogy into these prequels and contextualizes them. I think it's sick. Maybe it's just me. Another fun thing about Clark Carmine no, Clark Carmine, is that he is gay. Just interesting. I've said before, I think in my original Hunger Games video, that we don't get a lot of like canonically queer characters in the Hunger Games. And I was wondering like whether or not that's like because it's illegal to be gay in the Hunger Games times, or if it's like because the books were written in like 2010 and there was no representation. It's probably a mix of both, but Suzanne Collins retcons it in Sunrise on the Reaping to be like, it's because he was gay and it's not really allowed to be gay. So that's an interesting kind of wrinkle and answers some questions I had about the canon. Now it's time for the Reaping. At the Reaping, the 4 tributes for the Quarter Quell are selected. We have Luella McCoy, who is a 13-year-old girl from the Seam. Haymitch calls her sweetheart because they had like a thing, he's a bit older, where like she had a crush on him and they were each other's sweethearts, okay? This comes back around because Haymitch calls Katniss sweetheart. So it's like he calls Katniss sweetheart because she reminds him of Luella. Then we have Maisley Donner. She is a 16-year-old girl whose parents run the Sweet Shop, S-H-O-P-P-E shop. She's a rich girl. She's kind of a brat. She's a girly girl, popular girl. I'm literally obsessed with her. A really interesting thing that I think Suzanne Collins did with these prequels is like the original series, Katniss is not really a girly girl and has a bit of like not like other girls traits. But the reason she has those traits is because she's grown up in such abject poverty that she has not had time to like know what it feels like to have a crush or like care about, you know, gossip or clothes or whatever. And again, those are not just things that are obviously, that's not the definition of femininity. But when people say, I don't know how to talk with other girls, that's kind of what they mean, right? Like things that are more traditionally feminine coded. You have this main character that's more of a tomboy, but she's forced to be that way. Like she might not have been that way if she was given a situation to just kind of flourish and be a child, right? But in the prequels, 2 of the main girls, Lucy Gray Baird in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Maisley Donner in Sunrise on the Reaping, are girly girls. Like in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Lucy Gray Baird is like a performer and loves to sing and just like be the center of attention and is pretty hyper feminine and wears very, very colorful kind of crazy clothes because she just is who she is. And I think that she wears makeup and stuff too. In Sunrise on the Reaping, Maisley is like a high femme bitch. And I just kind of love that. You just get to see kind of different people be affected by this universe. Maisley is my girl. I love her. Another kind of wrinkle in her lore is that she's a twin, and her twin is the mayor's kind of incapacitated wife in the original trilogy. So you don't think things aren't going to work out great for Maisley, considering her sister is basically in a decades-long depressive spiral with migraines, right? You're kind of like, okay, I wonder if that was triggered by anything. The first boy who is reaped from District 12 is Wyatt Callow. He is an 18-year-old boy whose parents run the betting ring in District 12. So, you know, it's like they're like bookies. You can bet on like races or whatever, but they also take bets on the Hunger Games, which is insane, so messed up. So he's a bit of a social outcast because people are like, your parents are fully evil. He likes math and odds is the other thing. And then finally, Woodbine Chance is reaped. We don't know exactly how old he is, but he is younger than Haymitch because he's like ahead of Haymitch in the like they line up according to age, and he's ahead of Haymitch in the like group that they're all standing in. When Woodbine Chance is reaped, he runs for it. He makes a break for it and is shot by the Peacekeepers. Woodbine's mom runs after him and is crying because her son was just murdered on national television. And the Peacekeepers go to, I guess, hey, why not kill her too? And Lenore Dove gets involved because again, she's an activist, and she goes, hey, maybe shooting a child and then the child's mother on TV is bad. So she goes to get in between Woodbine's mom and the Peacekeepers, and Haymitch goes to protect her. And because of that, they're basically like, oh great, we'll just reap this guy because we're missing a contestant, we're missing a tribute because we just shot that little boy on TV. So we'll just reap him. So Haymitch isn't actually legitimately reaped. It's like a rigged reaping. So the person who picks him is Drusella Sickle. She is like the Capitol liaison, what Effie is in the original trilogy. She is so evil. She's very Cruella de Vil. Just like this girl would wear a coat made of puppy skins if the opportunity presented it to her. She's just fully evil. After she's like, we'll reap this boy, she then orders the Peacekeepers to kill Lenore Dove. And Plutarch Heavensby, who is from the original series, he's a game maker. He is the game maker of the Quarter Quell, who are basically eventually is one of the masterminds behind the rebel plot. So he's like a capital rich kid who is a rebel and wants to take down the Hunger Games. At this point, he's just a cameraman. Love. And he goes, we shouldn't kill Lenore Dove because galaxy braining, she's Haymitch's girlfriend, and if we get some shots of her, that's gonna be really good TV, and we need to do propaganda so people care about the Hunger Games. So they keep Lenore alive under the guise of that. But you're kind of like, I don't know if Plutarch actually thinks that, or if he's just as like kind of a good guy. So they reshoot the entire reaping and make it seem like Haymitch was reaped legitimately. When he is reaped, the cameras then pan to Lenore Dove, and she refuses to cry for them. She will not cry for the cameras. She will not let them use her pain as entertainment. Then, as they're being taken away, Haymitch talks to his family, but doesn't talk to Lenore, and basically is like, gives his little brother the gumdrops, and is like, give these gumdrops to Lenore, okay? And then when they're on the train going away, Haymitch sees Lenore in a field, screaming and crying, and he sees her from the train. So like their final goodbye is much more private, and she doesn't, again, let the Capitol use her pain as their entertainment. Now they're on the train, right? So the tributes ride to the Capitol, and they have no mentors from their district. Because remember, a mentor is somebody who is a living victor from your district. The only victor from District 12 at this time is Lucy Gray Baird, who disappeared into thin air. So they don't have anyone. So they're going to get some when they arrive at the Capitol. Haymitch and Luella get along, and Haymitch is like, we're going to be an alliance. Love that. Maisley is actually just such a bitch to Drusilla, and I'm here for every moment of it. She's like, you are ugly, your outfits are ugly, everyone hates you, you old hag, basically. And then Drusilla claps back by being like, I hope you win, because you don't even know what you're gonna be in for if you win. Basically insinuating that like the sex trafficking of the victors, which is established in the original trilogy, was happening at this time. Wild thing to say to a child. Wild thing to be like, I hope you win so you will be trafficked. Insane thing to say to a child. Drusilla is just like evil. There's no nuance to it. There's no like, she's evil because of this. She's just kind of evil. So they get to the Capitol, and their mentors are Mags and Wyrus. Mags is from District 12. No, my God. Me and numbers, dude. I cannot say them. Mags is from District 4, which is the fishing district. It's like traditionally kind of seen as in like California. She won a very early, like I think the 11th Hunger Games. And she is Haymitch, and oh my God. She is Finnick's kind of like mother figure in the original trilogy, and she's very lovely, and she can speak in Sunrise on the Reaping. In the original trilogy, she cannot speak because of a stroke she suffered, but she can speak in this, so it's kind of interesting to kind of get to hear her speak. And their other mentor is Wyrus. Wyrus is from District 3, which is the like technology and innovation district, so the people who win from there are quite smart. Wyrus won the 49th Hunger Games, the one that just happened, because the arena was made entirely of mirrors, and she was basically able to like solve it, where she was like, oh, the only way to be safe is to basically walk into danger, because it's a mirror. Because so then if it's a mirror and you're walking into danger, you're actually walking to safety. And she basically found a place where no one could see her, and then everybody kind of killed each other. I love Wyrus. The cast for this movie is insane, basically already. Glenn Close is playing Drusilla, which is nuts to me. I'm so excited to see that. Joseph Zada is playing Haymitch. I haven't seen him in anything. I tried to watch, he's in the We Were Liars show, which I tried to watch and couldn't. He's really good in it. I was sick, and I accidentally watched the last episode of the series thinking it was the first, and it's a mystery. So I was watching it being like, this is insane. Why are they giving away all of the mystery in the first episode? And it's because I was watching the last episode. So that's actually not on him at all. He's a great actor. Whitney Peak is playing Lenore Dove. She's from the Gossip Girl reboot and fantastic. McKenna Grace is playing Maisley Donner. Maya Hawke is playing Wyrus, which I think is great casting. Jesse Plemons is playing Plutarch, which is awesome because he looks so much like a young Philip Seymour Hoffman. Ben Wang, who is from the Karate Kid reboot, is playing Wyatt Callow. Who else do we have? Oh, Lily Taylor is playing Mags, and she looks so much like the young actress who plays Mags. So that's wild. So basically, the main kids, they're all talking to their mentors, and the mentors are like, listen, you're not really a strong bunch, right? But that's not the only important thing. You don't just win the Hunger Games by killing everyone. You have to survive. You have to be smart. We are examples of that. We weren't the strongest people in our arena, but you can be strategic. And basically kind of parrots a lot of information that Haymitch ends up giving Katniss in the original book, which is interesting because they're not actually parroting it. Like Haymitch remembers what they said to him and says it to her. But now we're seeing where that information kind of comes from, where it's like, go into the training place to train, find a weapon that works for you, and then learn how to like survive, like learn how to make a shelter, learn how to find water, make a fire, all that stuff, right? Then they have to get like groomed for the interviews, and it seems like it's a very horrific kind of process with like the prep team. It's a lot worse than in the original series. It's just like a lot more chemical and stuff like that. And it's very, very dehumanizing. It's like they're all kind of showered in like a group. They're like de-pest, like it's like they like put like chemicals on them to get like bugs off of them. It's just very, very dehumanizing. And through this process, Maisley and Haymitch begin to bond because they both hate the Capitol so much, because they're both kind of sassy bitches, and I love that. So then they begin actual training, and they meet the other tributes. There's a lot, because again, there are 48 tributes as opposed to the typical 24. So I'm going to give you a speed run of the few that are important. We have from District 1, Panache. He is basically an aggressive bully, a typical career, huge, just like jacked as ready to fight. Then from District 1, we also have Silka, who is a girl career. Again, odds are in her favor just in terms of her like strength. She's a bit older, has more of an ability to win, but also has kind of cunning smarts. From District 2, we have Mariette, who is another career girl. She just kind of comes into play later. From District 3, we have Ampert. Ampert is young. Ampert is 12, and when this happens, when he goes into the games in the movie, it's actually gonna break me, because that's so young. 12 is so young. Ampert is BT's son. BT is one of the other living victors from District 3, the intelligent, kind of innovative district. BT is in Catching Fire. BT is one of my favorite characters. He's played by Jeffrey Wright, who is one of my favorite actors. He just rocks. There's like a line that he says in Catching Fire, because he's just like kind of a nerd who talks in ways that people don't really understand and is very kind of like effusive. There's a line he says in the interviews during Catching Fire, which I say all the time, where they're all trying to get the Quarter Quell to stop. They're trying to stop the games from happening however they can in the interviews with Caesar Flickerman. And BT just goes, "Surely if the Quarter Quell was written into law by man, it can be written out of law." And it's not funny or interesting, but it's in my brain. I just love him so much. He is, of course, a part of the rebel plot in Catching Fire, and it seems as though he was a rebel beforehand, because for trying to undermine the Capitol and start a rebellion, he is punished by having Ampert reaped and put through the Hunger Games. This is Beatty's punishment. Beatty is supposed to be there. They've given him like one of the stands in training where he can teach them how to make a potato, like a potato battery. And nobody ever goes to that because it's not really valuable in the games. Like, it's not. So he just has to sit at that table and basically watch the last moments of his son's life. Now that I'm thinking about the potato battery, I've actually, because of my lack of knowledge about science, misrepresented what a flint striker is. A flint striker is basically when you put it on the right kind of rock, it can make a spark. But a battery, you need copper and a fuse to basically like make an explosion. All you need to know is that Haymitch, his like token, which he gets to bring into the arena, is a flint striker, and you can use that to make things explode. Okay. Ampert is quite young, but seemingly optimistic and very intelligent. Then finally, from District 6, we have Welly. She is very small and young, but resourceful. She's a young girl. Now, during training, BT is there manning the potato booth, watching the last moments of his son's life. Very depressing. And Plutarch is there kind of shooting footage for propaganda. While they're training, Panache, the big career from District 1, attacks Haymitch. And Haymitch just kind of lets it happen because he's like, I'm not gonna beat him, so why would I stop him? And afterwards, Plutarch is like, the outcome of the game is not set in stone. It's not inevitable. Basically being like, just because he's a career and he is likely to win does not mean it is inevitable that Panache will win. You can still have a chance of winning if you're Haymitch. But it's kind of doublespeak, which Plutarch does a lot, where he kind of says like one thing, but he means another, because he's kind of doing espionage and trying to take down the Hunger Games, and he has to be very careful about what he says. So when he's saying like the outcome of the games is not inevitable, he's also kind of being like, the games are not inevitable. The fact that the games will go down as they are planned is not inevitable. We can fight back. And that's a big kind of theme for this book, is basically being like, the way in which we as a people are oppressed, basically by classism, let's say, right? By like a ruling class. We accept it because it feels inevitable and like the way it's always been. We accept capitalism and the problems that come with it because it just is the way things are. When in actuality, there are more of us than there are of them. That's a big theme of this. It's very moving. Like I don't ever really want kids, but I was like, ooh, I would make my kids read this, because it's like the Communist Manifesto Light published by Scholastic. Because a big thing that happens during training is Ampert, BT's son, is like the careers who are from the wealthy districts and are often well-fed and older and volunteer and just kind of win this a lot because they're physically much more prepared for it, always win because they band together and they make a huge alliance and they kill everyone else and then they fight each other. But there are way more non-careers than there are careers. So we should all band together in a non-career alliance to take them down. So again, it's like this, it's so good, where it's like, there are more of us than them. So, you know, in a way, Ampert is being like, yes, in the games, the most powerful people always win, but there are way more not careers who can beat them. But also it's like, there are way more people in the districts than there are in the capital, so they can overthrow the capital as well, right? So basically, Ampert creates a mega alliance of all of the tributes that are not in the career districts. So every district that is not 1, 2, or 4 is in a huge alliance together, and they're called the Newcomers. I don't really like this. It reads as real because I think this is a legitimate title that like teenagers would think of for their club, but it's very middle school kind of group name. It's not cool to me as an adult, but I get it. So they're all trying to join this alliance and make this alliance happen. Maisley starts to endear herself to the other tributes, even though she's a high femme bitch, because she loves jewelry, and I love her. And you basically get to take in one token into the games that reminds you of home. For Katniss, it's her Mockingjay pin, right? So the other kids, basically Maisley is like, I can help you make your token into something wearable. I can help you make jewelry because I love to make jewelry. So that's how she becomes friends with all the other tributes. A fun little wrinkle about Katniss's Mockingjay pin is Katniss in the books gets the Mockingjay pin. Oh my god, the cord touched my leg and it scared the fuck out of me. In the books, Katniss gets the Mockingjay pin from her friend Madge, who is the mayor's daughter. So Madge is Maisley's niece, basically. And Katniss is like, wow, I wonder who the original owner of this pin. She must have loved this beautiful, beautiful pin. The pin was made by, I believe, either by Clark Carmine or Tam Amber, who are like the uncles and people who take care of Lenore Dove. So this was like a gift for Maisley. And Maisley is like, this pin is so effing ugly. I hate it so much. That is the ugliest effing pin I have ever seen in my godforsaken life, and puts it in a drawer and hates it. And then basically through being handed down, this like pin that becomes the symbol of the rebellion that is connected to Maisley is a piece of jewelry she fucking hates and thinks is so ugly and does not like, which I find so funny. That's also kind of a part of a greater through line, which is the one-sided beef between Lenore Dove and Maisley, where Lenore Dove hates Maisley. She hates her so much. Part of it is because one of her uncles, I guess, spent a lot of time on this pin that Maisley hates, and Maisley is mean and a bitch. It's said with love. I say that as a fellow bitch. Like, no judgment. Game recognizes game. And Maisley is quite wealthy, and Lenore Dove is also poor. But like, it's very much that scene from Mad Men where it's like Lenore Dove is like, I hate you, and Maisley is like, I don't think about you. So that's kind of what that is. Anyways, that's how Maisley endears herself to the other tributes during training, by making jewelry for them, basically. Haymitch, as they get ready for the tribute parade and then the interviews, Haymitch meets his prep team. On his prep team, one of the members is Proserpina Trinket. Recognize that last name? She's played by Iris Apatow, which I'm so excited for. I love her. She's basically like a student doing a co-op in the Hunger Games, which I find so funny, being like, I've got to get my work study permission slip signed for all the hours I'm logging in the Hunger Games or I won't graduate. Where she's training to be like a stylist, or like training to be like somebody who's on like a prep team. She needs to get a good grade on preparing these children for their death. And she's worried she's gonna fail because the stylist for District 12, Magno, is basically MIA. He's like not around. He gets high by licking toads, which I love. I'll have what she's having. Give me some of that. And she's just like, he's not here to style them. We don't know what we're gonna put them in. We are fucked. So then Proserpina calls her sister Effie Trinket, baby. And Effie ends up styling them for their interviews and stuff. So that's how we get Effie in this. Yeah. Yes. Effie is very like sheltered. She can't go through too much of a journey because the journey that she goes through in the actual Hunger Games series like is her being like, these child death games are wrong. So she can't realize it in this book, which I think is a hard line to walk because you want to make her character like endearing because she is a fan favorite, while also having her be like fully complicit in like the child death games. So basically the way that she is endeared to the audience is by basically trying to provide some humanity to these tributes and in maybe some of their last moments alive. She ends up styling them in like pre-war or like early kind of wartime nostalgic, almost 1920s looks that she takes from her grandparents, which is is interesting. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So first they have the tribute parade where they're all in the chariots and they go in the chariots in front of all the audience as tributes. And then they're presented to like the President Snow. President Snow, by the way, being played by Ralph Fiennes, Voldemort himself, or as you might know him from Conclave. Woo! Where my Conclave head's at. I'm excited for Ralph Fiennes to be President Snow. I think Ralph Fiennes is very, very good at being evil, and I'm excited to see what he does with it. So they're on their little chariots being presented to the president, and some idiot, like, I don't want to use that word. I don't use that word lightly, but some audience member shoots a firecracker into the tributes. Just like, oh, I gotta bring my fireworks to the parade, and the firework hits a chariot, the horses freak out, and Luella, who is the young 13-year-old girl from the Seam, who is one of Haymitch's, like, basically Rock, like, one of the only people from home that he really likes, she gets thrown from the chariot and dies. Haymitch has a brain break, as who of us would not, and grabs Luella's body and walks up to the president, where he's on his little balcony, puts her body on the ground, and does a slow clap, being like, wow, look what you've done. And that's why Haymitch is a very fun main character for a book like this. He is messy. He has a flair for the dramatics. He can't just be mad. It's not enough to be mad that Luella has been murdered because some dummy bozo brought a firecracker to the goddamn Hunger Games parade. It's not enough to be mad. You've got to create a symbolic kind of tableau where you are slow clapping at the president, the fascist president, which I love. The parade ends, whatever, they go home. They're like, what's gonna happen now? Because like Luella like is dead. They're sad about it, obviously, but like they're like, what's gonna happen? She's dead, I guess she's not gonna go to the Hunger Games. They replace Luella with a body double who has basically like an earpiece in her ear, is in some way being drugged and sedated, and is basically like almost kind of like lobotomized functionally. She looks a lot like Luella, but she's not Luella. And everyone who knows Luella is like, what the is that? Because that's not Luella. She's a body double that they eventually figure out through singing lullabies is from District 11. They don't know how she got there or why she got there, but she's basically a body double replacement for the Hunger Games. Up. They end up calling her Lulu because she can't really speak and communicate who she is, and if she does, she obviously gets like tortured in some way through some part of the earpiece or whatever. But now Lulu has entered the chat. New body double just dropped. They're going into the Hunger Games with like the scariest tortured child in the world. Plutarch shows up and brings Haymitch to his house. Feels suspect, feels illegal, but okay. Plutarch is very, very wealthy. He comes from one of the like original very wealthy families in the capital, but he's basically talking in doublespeak. He does, there's like staircase symbolism and metaphor that I don't understand, where he keeps talking about staircases, and I know he's doing doublespeak in some way of just being like, but I really mean something else, but I don't know what it means, so I cannot tell you. And I looked it up and I couldn't figure it out. And then I asked my friend who's also really into the Hunger Games and read this book, and she didn't know either. So if you know what he was talking about with the staircases, I'd love to know in the comments below. But the basic tenor of this conversation is being like, we should do a revolution. You know, people in the Capitol don't all believe in the Hunger Games. We should do a revolution. And then President Snow shows up, where Plutarch has basically arranged this meeting so he could be alone with Haymitch to be like, do a revolution. Because also President Snow wants to talk to this 16-year-old boy. One thing about President Snow, he will beef with a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old. He does not care. He is a grown man, and he loves to have actual beef and issues with a teenager. There's nothing he loves more than to have beef with a teenager, and that's part of his personality, and it's kind of take it or leave it at this point, right? So President Snow snows up, and he's suffering from poison. Famously, we learn in the original series, President Snow wipes out his enemies or people who might usurp him by poisoning them, but he has to have some of the poison himself so that they also drink their whatever. If somebody's like, have some tea, and they're not also drinking tea, and they're famous for poison, you're gonna be like, well, I'm not gonna have that tea, because that's obviously poison. So he drinks the poison too, and then he has to take an antidote quickly. But antidotes don't always work, so he's got like sores and is basically rotting from the inside out, which is why he smells like death and an overwhelming perfume of roses to try and cover up the smell of death. Right? Beautiful image, by the way. Somebody who smells like rotting, but then on top, this like artificial smell of roses to cover it up, much like the Capitol and the president himself. Absolutely. Snow shows up and Plutarch brings him in, and Snow is actively suffering from poison. And President Snow is like, I need my milk. Daddy needs his milk. And Plutarch is like, oh, in the mini fridge there's some milk. Haymitch, can you get it? Haymitch opens the mini fridge, drinks all the milk, and is like, the milk's out. Oh my god, the milk is out. Plutarch leaves and gets more milk. The president basically threatens Haymitch and is like, if you pull more shit like that, I will kill your entire family. They save the president, he drinks milk, he's fine, they leave, right? There also is a very interesting kind of paragraph in the section where Haymitch and Plutarch are talking alone, where Plutarch talks about AI, which I think is really interesting because a big part of this book is all about media manipulation. Haymitch isn't like fairly reaped, but they reshoot the entire thing to make it look like that. All these things, right? They've replaced Luella with Lulu because they don't want to show that the Capitol makes mistakes or has the capacity to lose control. This idea of shaping the narrative. And that's Plutarch's thing because he's big into propaganda. And he's like, oh, it would have been so easy if AI was still around. Remember when we had AI? It was so easy. I guess they had to make it illegal because we couldn't be trusted with that, but I wish we could use it to do propaganda. Whatever. It's just a fun little kind of reference to AI, I think, like anti-AI, which I think is interesting. They have the interviews, right, with Caesar Flickerman, one of my favorite characters in the whole show. He's fully evil and just kind of absolutely complicit in child death and oppression. Stanley Tucci as Caesar Flickerman is one of my favorite character performances. It's just like, it's very teeth heavy, very kind of like, ha ha ha. I love it. Kieran Culkin is playing him in these movies, and I'm excited to see what that is. So they do their interviews. All you really need to know is that Maisley is popular because she's like high femme bitch. And if I was in the Hunger Games universe, I'd be like, obviously donating to the Hunger Games is bad because you're complicit in the Hunger Games, but like, I need to get my girl a blow dryer in the she's got to do her bangs. How is my girl Maisley going to do her bangs in the Hunger Games if I don't send her a blow dryer? Let me do it. So she's fairly popular, and Haymitch kind of goes out and is in his like 1920s bootlegger little outfit, suit and tie, and plays this kind of rascal rapscallion bootlegger who's like, yeah, I make alcohol under the Capitol's nose. I'm crazy. And he's a really funny quote in this interview where Caesar Flickerman is like, so there's double the tributes this year. How do you think that makes your odds? And Haymitch says, I don't see how that makes much of a difference. They'll still be 100% as stupid as usual. So I figure my odds will be roughly the same. I'm doing a bit of a skating over, like, I'm not going to talk about every single thing that happens when they're doing their training, and then they go in front of the like board of peacekeepers, not peacekeepers, of game makers to get their score. Haymitch gets a crazy low score. So his whole kind of thing is just being like, I don't give a about this is stupid, whatever. But he becomes very popular because he's got his devil-may-care attitude. He's a little rascal. And besides that, before the games, the only other thing that's important is BT, because he has to watch his son basically be led to the slaughter, has launched another rebellion plan where what's going to have to happen in the arena is Ampert will go off with the newcomers, Haymitch will be on his own, and then Ampert will come and find Haymitch and bring the tokens from District 9. The District 9 tributes have like little clay sunflowers, which are actually made of like explosives. And Ampert will come and find them with his necklace, where like the necklace part of his necklace is like a fuse, and they'll make an explosive, and they need to find a way to get inside the arena. Like, they'll be in the arena, but they need to find a way to get into like the more mechanical kind of backstage areas to explode it. So they're hatching a plan to explode the arena, a la Catching Fire. That's it. Now the games begin. So the games begin, and Haymitch basically does exactly what Katniss does in her books. He grabs a weapon, he grabs some food, and then beats it out of there, gets far away from the bloodbath as possible. The theme of the 50th Hunger Games arena is that it's a very beautiful kind of overflowing, fertile field with forests, and there's mountains, and there's so much fruit, and there's so many flowers and animals and water, but everything is poisonous. Basically, everything besides the food that is available at the cornucopia is poisonous. Haymitch realizes because everything is poisonous, he doesn't have to kill anyone, he can just outlast everyone and they all poison. They'll get poisoned, whatever. At the end of the first day, 20 people have died, 4 careers, and 16 newcomers. One of those deaths is Wyatt. Rest in peace, King. Day 2, Lulu finds Haymitch because her earpiece told her to. Big yikes. Her torturous earpiece is like, get your ass to Haymitch. Get over there. So she does. Haymitch makes a fire for her, lets her eat. She falls asleep. And then Haymitch realizes that there's these things called berms. I didn't know what this was when I read this book, but they're basically like big kind of hills. Yeah, it's like a raised kind of little hill thing, and they open up to let out like mutts and stuff, like the mutts, which are like the genetically altered animals to cause havoc in the arena, and they have different kind of flowers and shit on them. But Haymitch realizes that that's where the mutts come from, so he's like, oh, if I can get in there, that's where we can explode the arena from. So he goes looking to find if there's like a door where any of the mutts come out so he can explode that. Lulu, unsupervised for a moment, runs towards a berm with poison flowers and gets poisoned and dies. It's very sad. She dies in Haymitch's arms. He doesn't let the hovercraft take her body and runs away. Like, a hovercraft comes to take the body and she runs away. He runs away with her in his hands and doesn't let the hovercraft take her because he because it's an undignified death, and this is a very inhumane thing to do. Huge take that the Hunger Games are immoral. Eventually, they open one of the berms and send out poisonous butterflies, making him drop the body. He leads the butterflies to one of the berms that has a bunch of gas flowers that like put out CO2 and lights that gas on fire, creating like a big kind of fire, like a huge fire kind of explosion, burning up most of the butterflies. The few that are left just go back to the berm. He follows them back to the berm and uses a stick to prop the berm open so that they can get inside of it and blow up the arena from the inside. But the hovercraft does take Lulu's body away. So at the end of day 2, 2 people have died, 1 career and 1 newcomer. The next day, Ampert comes and finds Haymitch and kind of gives him an update on what's going on in the rest of the arena. He comes to find him under the guise of being like, Haymitch, you need to join the newcomers. We need you. And Haymitch is like, I can't. My low score makes me a liability. When in actuality, they're like, doing plan stuff. Something that's interesting is that in the original books, Haymitch scored a 9 in his like training score, but I guess they retcon it to 1. But again, that's another kind of like media manipulation thing of because Haymitch ends up winning these Hunger Games, as we know from the original canon, the Capitol might have been too embarrassed that the person who won scored a 1 in training. So then they use media manipulation to kind of retcon it retroactively, because it's an oxymoron, or that's just saying the same thing twice. But they retroactively change it to a 9 to be like, it was impressive, he won. So Ampert updates Haymitch on what's going on with the rest of the group. The newcomers have all stuck to the mountain. There's like a mountain, and that's where they all are. The careers are trying to pick them off. Maisley has gone off on her own and split from the newcomers. That night, they go to the Mutt portal, Ampert and Haymitch, where Haymitch has opened it. They climb inside. Ampert is like staying watch up by the berm, and Haymitch is climbing into the berm, and it's the water reserve. And Haymitch explodes it, basically. He gets attacked by mutts when he's down there, but he explodes it and makes all the water rush out of the berm. So, you know, they broke the arena in some way, and the arena is short-circuiting. But when Haymitch gets out of the berm, he sees a pack of golden squirrels have swarmed Ampert entirely and ate him alive, leaving just a skeleton. What the fuck? This breaks Haymitch's brain again, fair enough, and he goes X Games mode and starts hacking at the arena with his axe, making it malfunction even more. The game makers then make the mountain explode with gold like a volcano, which kills a lot of newcomers as well. Haymitch then, the arena's fucking going crazy, just goes off on his own and is in a little tree, and he hears humming, and he realizes the arena is running on generators, and he's like, if I can cut out the generator, I can cut out the power source of the arena and destroy it. So that's his new plan. So he decides to walk to the edge of the arena where the generators are. He walks along this hedge, and he gets lost because it's like a maze, because he's trying to find the end of the arena. He gets lost in the maze, but a bunny leads him out. But as he leaves the hedge, he's ambushed by Panache and 2 other careers. Haymitch axes the 2 other careers, but Panache knocks his axe away, and Haymitch is like, well, I'm f***ed. But then at the last moment, Maisley pops out and kills Panache with a poison dart. Iconic. I'm picturing her beautiful curtain bangs, kind of Sabrina Carpenter hair, Sabrina Carpenter makeup, full beat in the arena somehow. Don't ask questions. That's how I'm picturing Maisley. Haymitch and Maisley then decide to team up, and Haymitch is like, let's go to the edge of the arena to get away from everything. And Maisley is like, okay, that makes no sense, but fine. So that's the end of day 4. So on day 3 and 4, there are 16 deaths, 9 careers, and 7 newcomers. The next day, Maisley and Haymitch head for the edge of the arena, but when they reach the edge of the arena, they follow the hedge to reach the edge of the arena. So you can see my confusion. When they reach the edge, they try and go through the hedge to the edge of the arena, but they get attacked by ladybugs, and Haymitch realizes that they're not going to be able to go through the hedge. He doesn't know what to do. The duo comes across when they're just like, okay, we'll start walking back. I don't know. And as they're walking back, they come across this huge poisonous porcupine who kills 3 newcomers. They try to save 1, but it's too late. Like they scare the porcupine away, but its poison has already killed 3 newcomers. 2 other newcomers then are killed by the 2 remaining careers as well. Maisley is so pissed because everybody's dying, which fair enough, and she makes Haymitch promise that one of them has to win to burn Victor's village to the ground and not play any of the Capitol's games. Be like, I'm not going to be like a fun mentor of Victor. This is bullshit. Which I love. So now the only remaining tributes in the game are Haymitch and Maisley, Silka and Mariette, the 2 careers, girl careers, obsessed, and Welly from District 6. So the next day, Haymitch is like, we need to go back to the edge of the arena. And Maisley is like, why? And he's like, cause we need to find Welly, and there's a field there, and little girls love fields, so that's probably where Welly is. Doesn't make any sense, but Maisie's like, fine. While they're walking there, they come across Silka and Mary at the two careers, and they're chasing each other, running around. During this chase, they come across 3 game makers who are in the arena because of the damage Haymitch has done, and they're fixing it. So they're all like fighting each other, but then they like see the game makers and are like, wait, fuck this. I'm gonna kill you. So Maisie kills one of the game makers with a dart. Mariette kills another one with a knife, and then the third one falls into like the berm, which is like and there's like a huge kind of tube below it, and falls to her death. A hovercraft kind of bombs them, and they all run away. So Silka's on her own, running one way, Maisie and Haymitch running the other way, and then they make it to the hedge, and Haymitch uses gas that he got from one of the newcomers who died by the porcupine's backpack and lights the hedge on fire the way he lit the butterflies on fire, like using the gas before. So now that they've gotten through the hedge to the edge of the arena is just a cliff. We're like very, very far down is the generator, and Haymitch is like, there's literally nowhere to get there. I'm and Maisie is pissed at him too, because she's like, you froze when we were around the game makers. Me, a woman of action, stepped up. I'm not a stepdad, I'm the dad that stepped up to kill the game maker. And Haymitch is like, yeah, you're right, I probably should have, but I didn't. They sit and eat and talk. During one of these meals, whether it's this one or the one before, they use silverware because Maisie's like, I'm not gonna let them turn me into a animal. She makes good points. She's never done anything wrong ever. They talk about Lenore Dove when they're eating this time, and Maisie's like, she doesn't like me at all. And Haymitch is like, no, you know, whatever. No, she likes you. No, she really likes you in an interest, yeah. And they talk about it, and she's basically like, you know, Lenore Dove is not as perfect as you think she is. She's so poor, but she has orange nail polish. Why do you think she does? And Haymitch is like, I don't know. And she's like, why don't you ask her when you get out of here then? A mystery is afoot. Then during this time, Mariette, the career who killed one of the game makers with her knife, is killed by the same squirrels that killed Ampert in retaliation for killing the game maker. Haymitch and Maisie split up because she doesn't want to stay at the end of the arena the whole time. And she then gets killed by flamingos who are programmed to attack only her. That's like an interesting kind of thing that happens in this game specifically. The squirrels that killed Ampert were programmed to attack only him. The squirrels that killed Mariette were programmed to attack only her. And these flamingos that killed Maisie were programmed to attack only her. Again, in retaliation for killing a game maker. Haymitch is rightfully very traumatized by this, and he goes to find Welly, the remaining newcomer. He finds her. She's like camouflaged. They stay high up in a tree, and he feeds her, but she's very dehydrated and very starving. But they eat some food. At this time in the woods, so they're up high in the tree, Silka comes to the foot of the tree and just sits down and cries because the whole thing is so traumatizing to her as well. She doesn't try and kill them. She just sits there and cries because I guess Mariette, who was her friend, is dead. They drop a little chocolate. They have like basically like Lindt chocolates, and they drop one down to her, and she's like finds it, sniffles, and eats it. But it's just like this beautiful moment of solidarity because she doesn't kill them. So the next day, Haymitch decides he's going to blow up the cornucopia using Maisie's necklace and Wyatt's coin and his flint striker, because Wyatt has a copper coin. Maisie has flint on her necklace, like the kind of like not flint. What the is it called? I called it the right thing before. Striker? What is it called? Dude, I just want to talk about the Hunger Games, and now I gotta fucking figure out math. I don't know what it's called, guys. But it's like, it catches fire. It's like it catches fucking fire. You know what I mean? So he leaves Welly in the tree and is like, I'm gonna come back for you. I'm just gonna go blow up the cornucopia really quickly. And he goes to gather things for the fire, and then he's gonna bring Welly, and they're gonna blow up the cornucopia and escape, I guess. Ideally. While he's going to gather supplies, Haymitch gets like a delivery from a sponsor of a jug of milk. And he's like, okay, this is one of two things. It's from Plutarch, and it's a genuine gift of an inside joke of when I drank all the president's milk, and it's kind of being like, well done, keep fighting. Or it's from the president, and it's fully poison, and it's like, remember when you drank my milk, you little bitch? And he's like, I've got a bit of a conundrum here because I'm on TV, where it's like, either I drink it and die from poison, or give it to Welly and she dies from poison, or it's fine, but what the hell am I supposed to do? You know what? Doesn't matter, because while he's thinking about the milk, Silka decapitates Welly. Yup. Yes. So that's horrific. Haymitch and Silka fight. She slices his abdomen. He cuts her eye out. They run towards the edge of the arena where that generator is. He's running, holding his intestines. Disgusting. Silka throws her axe off the cliff. She aims for Haymitch, but it goes past him and falls off the cliff. She just sits down. She's like, listen, like, I can outlast you. I lost an eye, but you're bleeding out fully. But because of the force field at the bottom of the cliff, the anti-suicide force field, the axe goes off the cliff, bounces up, hits Silka in the head. She dies. It makes a joke of the Capitol, of course, because it's like, you made this arena and I've used it against you. Then Haymitch sets off the bomb at the cornucopia. It explodes, destroying the arena and causing an earthquake in the Capitol, literally shaking the Capitol. Now let's talk about the aftermath. So Haymitch is basically locked in a hotel room, I guess, while his trial goes on or whatever. They decide what to do with him. He's just like in a hotel room for a very, very long time. Wyrus and Mags are tortured for possibly being connected to this rebel plot. BT is also tortured. At one point, Haymitch is like, why hasn't BT killed himself? And they're like, well, it's revealed that like he has a wife and other kids, which he does not have in the original series. So like, what happens to them? I feel like they get murdered. Okay. While in the hotel room, Haymitch watches a cut of his games and he realizes that through media manipulation, any kind of act of rebellion has been cut. During the interviews, there is no mention of the newcomers or kind of solidarity within the districts. Haymitch is made to just kind of be like a pompous asshole. The blowing up attempt of the arena both times is not shown. Any kind of rebellion has been wiped clean from the tapes of the games. They award Haymitch as victor because they have to. At his victory party, they keep him in a cage at this Capitol party because they do not trust him. And then he returns home as a victor. Plutarch talks to Haymitch and is like, listen, the rebellion, like everything kind of happened how it happened. We can't give up. The reaping is not inevitable. The Hunger Games are not inevitable. We just need someone like you who's a bit luckier. Kind of Everdeen, baby. As Haymitch arrives home from the Hunger Games, he's strolling into the scene and his mother and brother are dying in a house fire. Yeah, things are not going to be good for Haymitch basically from now until maybe like literally ever. As retaliation for making a fool of the Capitol and the rebellion plot, his mother and brother were killed in collateral. And Haymitch keeps thinking about how if he had just filled their water supply from the well when his mother asked him to, they maybe would have been able to put out the fire, but they didn't. So Haymitch is in a bad type of way. Additionally, Lenore Dove has been incarcerated for singing protest songs outside of the town hall in protest of the Hunger Games and Haymitch's reaping. She gets arrested and is put in jail, and they've basically been starving her for like a huge portion of when Haymitch has been in the games, like a couple of days. They let her out and she walks to Haymitch. And this is the part that it is very sad. But I feel like when I read it, I just didn't picture it correctly. Because she sees a bag of gumdrops on the ground and thinks they're the ones that he gave her, that maybe she dropped when she was arrested, or maybe she's just really hungry, so she just wants to eat something because she hasn't eaten in a very long time. I get hung up on the eating the bag of gumdrops from the ground. I do. I will not lie to you, but she eats the gumdrops, but they are not multicolored like a classic gumdrop pack. They're all blood red because they are poisoned by President Snow. She dies from poison in his arms. As she's dying, her last words to him are basically, don't let the sun rise on the next reaping of stop the Hunger Games, continue my beliefs and my journey. And Haymitch promises her that he will be the last tribute reaped, which at the time is not true, but is true in the grand scheme of the Hunger Games because he is of course reaped for the third quarter quell. PETA volunteers and takes his place, but he is reaped for the third quarter quell, and that is when the rebel plot succeeds. So Haymitch does keep his promise to Lenore Dove and becomes the final tribute reaped and stops the Hunger Games. After this, he basically pushes everybody away from him because he understands that these people who were close to him were killed as punishment to him because of their proximity to him. So he pushes away Burdock, who is his best friend in town. Burdock is Katniss's dad. He ends up pushing Burdock away because him and Astrid, who's Katniss's mom, show up to try and like help Haymitch because he basically locks himself in his house in Victor's village and refuses to like do anything, but they keep stocking food for him. Like the Capitol's like, you will be alive, you stupid bitch. You will be. So Burdock and Astrid show up to like help him, and Haymitch in like a drunken stupor because now he's self-medicating with alcohol, like throws some shit like glass at Astrid and cuts her face. So they're like, okay, we can't be around this violent man anymore. But he basically pushes everyone away, and that gets him to basically where he is when we meet him in the original Hunger Games series, of kind of a joke, a drunk who has no one close to him that kind of thing. He also sees when he's walking around in this kind of stupor, anti-Hunger Games graffiti in town, spray painted in orange spray paint. This is what Lenore Dove's orange nail polish is that Maisley referenced, because when you're spray painting, you get like paint on your fingernails. So the secret kind of internal life of Lenore Dove in many ways was kind of her opposition to the Hunger Games, and she was much more of a rebel than people gave her credit for, maybe. Then we get the epilogue where the games have ended and Haymitch is basically talking about how him and Katniss and Peeta are together. He tends to a flock of geese and basically tries to get sober or drink less and enjoy life now that the reapings are over. Very sad. Oh my god. That's the end of Sunrise on the Reaping. Again, as I said before, like, this is just an overview. There's a lot more from the text specifically, and even just lines that I think are really interesting. If you want to read the book, you should read the book. It's genuinely fantastic. I also say that because every time I make these, I leave stuff out because I'm not doing a line by line recap of the entire book, and I want people to know, like, I know I left stuff out, but that's okay. It's my channel, and you know, people make mistakes. Anyways, thank you so much for watching to this point. Insane if you did. Worried for you, quite frankly. Again, all of my links are in the description below: my Instagram, my Patreon, my merch, my podcast. Oh yeah. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.